Hey, I'm Zag and we are in the My Electronic Studios. I'm sat with Miche and we are ahead of the latest edition of the With Love compilation from Mr Bongo Records. So tell me about it.
So yeah, this is volume 3. I can't believe it, volume 3. In my series With Love, which I compile for Mr Bongo Records. It's a collection of songs that I absolutely adore, that I think are essential for DJs to play. Lots of hard to find records on there, lots of impossible to find records on there. All independent artists, we're working with them, getting their music out there and making sure DJs can play it. Kind of links why the name is With Love. Everything was compiled properly with love. And yeah, I'm really excited. It comes out July 25th on Mr Bongo Records.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the third edition. What's different in comparison to the first and the second? Is it more DJ friendly, would you say?
I think there's DJ friendly stuff on there. I would say that when I've compiled these records, volume 1 was a great listening experience. It was me trying to introduce my style and my sound to Mr Bongo and to Mr Bongo's kind of customers and DJs out there. Volume 2, I wanted to go really dancehall friendly. I wanted it to be really, you know, full of banging soul music that I loved. And this one, I feel like it's slightly more relaxed. I think there's still those bangers on there, stuff like Le Cop and, you know, Medlows and stuff like that. Those modern soul gems that, you know, I'm known for on these records, but also some jazzier bits. I feel like I've dug into my jazzier side and some more interesting bits on there.
And you have a couple of Turkish records. I can see the names that I'm familiar with.
Exactly. I mean, you're an influence there for sure. You know, we've been friends for a few years and it's been nice to share that music with you, something that I wasn't really aware of. And I felt like that music had become quite important. I've been enjoying my digging trips to Kadıköy and Istanbul, and you know, you've put me on some great stuff and we share some good, you know, we share a good relationship in buying records there. So yeah, and I felt like it was time to put something slightly different on there as well. The jazzier tracks, you know, they're good, but they, you know, they've kind of have been sort of hinted at in the other editions as well. I feel like this was the curveball that people weren't expecting on that, but they're still funky. I think 2 records on there that I would say definitely aren't fitting of sort of that sound. So you got Curating, which we've even pulled your copy out there. Super funky, like really funky record. In a really weird time signature as well.
It's hard to dance to.
It is, I've noticed that after I played it. But, and I would say Nuket Rujan, like one of the best Brazilian records that never came out of Brazil, was never touched by a Brazilian.
Who would have known?
No, there's not a Brazilian artist on that record. They're all Turks, and Ali Kocatepe, legendary producer, put it together. And I think it's beautiful, and I'm glad that we get to shine a light on some music that maybe isn't shining a light on as much as it should.
Yeah, speaking of, I mean, you're known to work with independent artists and their music. What kind of stories do you have specifically for the volume 3?
We've got a few. I mean,
yeah.
Everything I've done on this record is linked to the artists. And, you know, so stuff like Le Cop, like he was a guy called Mel Doby, who was a policeman in New York. And he wanted to write a record that was, you know, had a strong message, so law, order and peace. That was his message to basically spread that stuff. And he sadly passed away a few years ago, but they honoured him by putting a road up in New York. I think it's in Queens, and it's called Mel Doby Way, which I think is pretty cool. The Whale and the Flea, stuff like that, where I went to the guy after a different track for a different project, and he said, oh, that's not available anymore, but I've got this one that no one seems to be biting on. I'm like, this is incredible. And it didn't have many views on YouTube at all. No one had really known about this. So I thought, you know what? That fits with the vein of a few tracks from the previous comps. Everything there, East Wind Band, they're still together. 49 years later, they're still together, playing shows. John Academia, I signed that record 2 weeks after the second compilation.
We just played it, it's such an incredible
It's killer, it's a bit of you, I'm sure. You know, I signed that record 2 weeks after With Love 2 came out, so we've been waiting 2 years to put it out, and John's been incredibly patient and stuff like that. So every record on this, we've got great stories of, and it's so proud. It's such a proud thing to be able to work with these artists, make sure they get paid, make sure they get, you know, the credit they deserve, because this music wouldn't have done very well at the time. purely by indicating how many sales they did. That's why these records are rare and expensive, because there wasn't many pressed, and if you didn't hit the state radio with your track, you're not going to get the national radio, and you're not going to get your records in front of the people who decided what was kind of popular at the time. So it's a real privilege to be able to sell this record worldwide to people and be available on Spotify and Bandcamp and stuff, where anyone in the world can go out and find this record and celebrate these artists on the record. So.
And how was the process of researching and digging for these songs?
So usually I start with kind of keeping a tab on everything I hear, really. So I'm always digging for new music. I'm always trying to find new records. I've always got this compilation in the back of my mind, slightly further forward as well in my mind. It's always in my mind. So when we're discussing music, like Golden Caribou Check, for example, I'm saying that again because it's a track that we both really enjoy. And, I hear something, I'm like, that would work really well. So usually I will try and find the license holder, the rights holder, pretty quickly. So I'll go on Facebook or use the phone book in America and call people up. I'll be on the phone to like someone who I think is a son of someone, or a daughter. And I'll just kind of hit and hope, really. And sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes they say, yeah, that was my grandfather or that was my father or something like that. And I have a conversation and I tell them about my project. And, it's a great way to do it. But it's to dig for them. So like the digging process is, I'm always trying to find music like this. I'm using YouTube, I'm using friends like yourself and mentors like Rainer and Patrick and, all these amazing people around me. I'm always trying to hear what people are playing. But it's what I love at the end of the day. That's the whole point of the record is, it's from my heart. So as soon as I hear something, I'm usually trying to find a link to how I can kind of get it on the compilation. So it becomes quite a natural process. A great story would be that I was working on a record for Mr Bongo, another compilation, and I met a guy called Carlos Bivar, and we spoke about a record and I licensed it for the compilation, and he was super thrilled to be a part of the Mr Bongo thing, and and he understood what they were doing for Brazilian music. And his son contacted me saying, oh, he's coming to London, part of his holidays, in October, would you come and meet? And we can do a little video for his YouTube channel. And I thought, sure, I don't really know because it's not really my record that, but of course I want to meet this guy. It was a cool tune. And so I met him, and him and his wife and his son were so lovely to me. We had a few beers, it was a lovely evening. And I thought, what a great guy. And I just went and I started listening to his back catalogue. And I found this track called Amago Amar, which didn't have many Discogs once. It wasn't majorly expensive, but it just wasn't really sort of seen as a thing. Had a YouTube upload, which I think he'd uploaded himself. And I thought, that's perfect, because it's a record that no one's really heard before. It's not something that's kind of hyped up. I think it's a great way to showcase Carlos in a different side to the other record we put out on Mr Bongo. So I'm always digging. I'm always trying to find something new, something fresh. But when I hear something, by this point, three volumes in, I kind of know where the compilation's going and what ticks the boxes of the sound and the feeling of the record.
And in addition to the Mr Bongo family, you are surrounded with incredible selectors and DJs. But I know you also do your digging through YouTube because it's such a big ocean of content. So I want to ask you about your digging process for this third edition.
Yeah, you got it right. I mean, we've spoken about this before, so you knew about this, but I think I'm not really ashamed to say that YouTube is probably one of the best things you can do to find music. 100%, yeah. Because as much as I love sitting in those record stores and I love, getting my hands dirty and finding stuff, it's a great feeling when you find something, but the way that you can listen to probably 100 records in an hour, I can listen to something in 20, 30 seconds, kind of get whether I'm enjoying it or not, because it's hooky or something. This is what the process of this is about. It's finding records that I think are really solid to DJ out, but also great to listen to, really hooky, really catchy. We want to sell these records, we want people to be as hooked as we are. And YouTube's a great platform for it. Discogs is amazing as well. Yeah. But we're talking about digging in Istanbul, for example. I'm chatting with you a couple of weeks before we go out there, and we're sending each other links, and you're putting me onto stuff, and I'm doing my own digging. So I'm getting myself a bit of a kind of list together of stuff that I know that I can be looking out for.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a great tool.
I think it's not either or anyway. It's just combination of a lot of different sources. I mean, having this conversation with the record shop owners or record collectors, fellow DJs. But in addition to that, there's another source, so why not combining it?
Exactly. I mean, we've got the ability, you know, at our age to look through so much music and be so spoilt to do this. And that's why I think at 31 years old, I can pull something together like this 3 times and be so and feel like I've done a really good job of it, because I think that, you know, it's those tools that we've got that we're able to listen to so much music, and you can start to narrow it down, which is the compiling process, really.
Okay, my next question is, how do you approach compiling as a whole project?
So, like we said, you know, going on YouTube and digging in record stores and sharing with friends as well. We didn't really touch on that as well. I have a lot of amazing friends and mentors who put me onto amazing records. So I start to look through my Discogs want list, which is kind of, I guess, like everyone's kind of bank of all their information, really. And I start to pull out names, and I obviously have a few things that I've kind of tried to work on before. And it's a different process than when I sort of work licensing for other projects, because usually I get given a bigger track list and then we sort of work out what's possible and stuff. When I'm trying to find these records, usually when I find something, I'll do a little bit of research already. So I'll try and see whether the artists are still alive and whether they're kind of contactable. So it kind of gives me an indication, and it's a nice way to sort of fall into like a pool of amazing music, really. So with this one, I kind of pulled together sort of 8 or 9 tracks, and after I've pulled those together, I will then start to try and fill in the gaps. So I think the Nükhet Rüyacan was pretty much nailed on, and so I wanted something to complement that, to show the Turkish music, not just have a Brazilian record from Turkey. I wanted to have something that bridges between, you know, the Turkish side into the Brazilian record. So I had Carlos Bivar, I had the Nükhet Rüyacan, I wanted something else. So I'm able to kind of build this kind of puzzle of stuff. And it's a nice way, because I'm doing the project and I'm project managing it myself, I'm able to keep quite a small track list and have quite a clear initial idea on what it's going to look like, and then able to sort of fill the gaps in. So, you know, compiling this is you know, it's a great process.
Nice. And I know you have 2 vinyl records in this compilation. And do you have in other formats, CD, cassettes, limited editions, colored?
There's a coloured vinyl, which we've done a sort of maroony colour this time, which I think is pretty cool. Complements the yellow really nicely. We've got black double LP, it's a double LP gatefold, and we've got, for the first time, we've done a double CD. So we've got a CD that shows a track list, so you can listen to the unmixed one, and then we've also got a mixed CD on there as well. So perfect for a drive, you can put the CD in, you can listen to the tracks in a slightly different order, in a more DJ-friendly way.
All right, so With Love, Volume 3, compiled by Miche, July 25th, from Mr Bongo Records. I mean, I would just buy this only for Gülden and Nükhet, but there are so many others, so go get your copy.